Hello, my lovely chemistry students. Here I am in our lovely laboratory at Walker Valley High School. I'm going to go through and show you some wonderful lab equipment so that way you'll have a better understanding of what some stuff is and how big it is. Because sometimes if you see just a picture on a piece of paper, you have no idea what it actually looks like in real life. So first, dun, 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 let me put my safety glasses on. I mean, I'm not really working with any chemicals right now, but I don't want to poke my eye out, right? Okay, first thing we have is a ring stand. This is a ring stand. Notice a metal solid bottom. That sucker can stand and hold things. So you can have, the reason why it's called a ring stand is because you have a ring that it can hold. And so there's different clamps you can put on it. If you want this stand to hold a test tube, you can put this clamp that looks like this, and you can slide that test tube right in there. Ring stands are great to hold all sorts of clamps, and you can hold multiple ones at one time. Second item is the great Erlenmeyer flask. This is a 500 milliliter Erlenmeyer flask. Erlenmeyer is named after a famous dead guy. Notice a flask is always bigger on the bottom, smaller on top. Flask is great to stir things because you can just swirl and stir things without having to stick anything in there to stir it with. Next item, beaker. So we have a beaker is the same circumference from the bottom to the top. Notice also there's a pour spout on the beaker. Beakers are super handy to pour things. There are graduated marks on a beaker. However, if you need a specific volume that's very accurate, you don't want to use the graduated marks on the beaker because it doesn't provide super duper accurate results as in volume. However, what does provide accurate results is a graduated cylinder. There's all sorts of sizes. This is a 500 milliliter graduated cylinder right here. You're also going to have a 100 milliliter graduated cylinder and in between. And you might even have a little 10 milliliter graduated cylinder. So there's lots of wonderful cylinders. Depends on how much volume you need. Will depend on which graduated cylinder you use. Notice my cylinders are graduated. We don't have dropout cylinders here at Walker Valley. Next item of business is the test tube. Test tubes are so great. Test tubes can be different sizes. This is a very standard test tube. What I have on here is a test tube holder. So basically it's just a little spring. So you squeeze, apply to the test tube, and there's a very good hold on the test tube. This is great to carry hot test tubes from point A to point B. One thing with a test tube, we always remember, if you're ever burning, say you have a little light down here, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine, and it burns the bottom of the test tube, you never, ever want your face toward the top because some vapors and all kinds of crazy stuff could come out of there. Next item, this is called a well plate. It's plastic. It's great. There are 24 wells on this bad boy. It's great for little tiny reactions to see like, hey, is that even going to react before you go large scale and use a lot of stuff. Also, it's great to compare colors. Oftentimes, we like to put like a piece of white paper behind it so we can see the colors really, really well. Super easy to use, plastic. You can't break that sucker. Next thing is a wire mesh. This stuff right here on the wire mesh, they're not on all the wire meshes, but this is kind of like a clay. And what this does is it turns kind of an orangey color when the clay gets hot enough. Doesn't mean you're going to have like a fire or anything. So if you have a ring stand, which this is another version of a ring stand, you could put your mesh on the ring stand, and you could put a beaker here and put your Bunsen burner underneath there to boil even something. You can boil something in a beaker. Next item is a spatula. This is a spatula with a handle. This is a spatula without a handle. Either one does the same job. It's great to just scoop and transfer if you're like weighing something or transferring from one thing to another. These spatulas are super great for that purpose. The next item, these are called beaker tongs in particular. There's rubber on the end, so it's a better gripper. So therefore, if I wanted to take a beaker off of the heat, for example, I can grab this with the tongs, so I don't have to grab a hot beaker, because we all know that's a bad idea. Next item is a watch glass. It can be very small and it's okay. A watch glass is great to create little tiny reactions. And also you can light things on fire in this too, because it's glass. Basically any glass in the lab is not going to actually catch on fire. It's good stuff. It's Pyrex. So if you don't know what Pyrex is, ask your mom, grandma, whoever, because I'm telling you, they know what Pyrex is. All right. This next thing, this is just a dropper. This dropper in particular is slightly graduated. So there are little marks on this that goes up to 1 milliliter. Not all droppers are graduated. This one tends to be a little bit handier that way. The way you use a dropper, seriously, is the way you've used droppers your whole life. Squeeze, put in the liquid, let it go. And then that stuff gets sucked right up in there. These are great too because really, I mean, they're disposable for the most part. Unless we're using like really basic stuff, we'll probably get rid of these bad boys. The next item is your favorite, a Bunsen burner. I'm going to show you how to use Bunsen burners soon, how to turn them on properly, how to adjust the valves properly, what to do like if there is a problem. So there's a tube. We connect the end of the tube to the gas source. Here's the valve, and then we light, and then we have a wonderful little flame. Makes life really easy. This right here is called a clay triangle. These little pieces here are also made of clay, and just like the wire mesh, when an object gets hot enough, these little clay pieces on the triangle will actually turn a color. So then you'll have an indication of like, hey, my stuff's doing good, and I am going to boil or burn off whatever, some water I need to, or anything like that. This is a lovely evaporating dish. It's very small. You'll also see a little spout on the end. A lot of times you can what we call decant. You decant some water off of it. So that means pour water off the top. But this is great because you can allow your product to spread out within the evaporating dish, and it can dry out really well. So these are fantastic. They're like a porcelain, so that means they can get pretty hot, which is good because we want things to get hot. And finally, this is a crucible. Okay, so you may have read the crucible. This is not quite the same. I mean, it could be. But anyway, you have the lid, you have the bottom, it's ceramic. You can heat that sucker up, heat something inside of it. This clay triangle is awesome because that crucible fits in the clay triangle. You want to see something even cooler? That clay triangle fits on your ring stand. You have a whole little apparatus going on. So there are some common lab equipment pieces. And remember, always wear your safety glasses so you don't end up like Carol. Talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.